Ashley kind of like dated a football player at one time, like dated, but like still, it's like, I'm not that guy. I'm never going to be that guy. Like, I'm going to be the guy who's probably like bartending and then becomes a salesman. And then that's my life. And that's totally cool. And I'm happy with that. But like, I know you're not going to be happy with that. You know, so it was always like this fear of just like I loved the idea of us being friends because I loved her so much, but like never crossing that threshold because it's like, Ashley, you're just like, if you live with me, we're going to live in like a small house in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I know that's not what you want. And I can't give you more than that. And then, of course, it came to the point where it was like, all right, I'm being a...
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so excited today to have Rhode Island's own star of season 11 of The Bachelorette, star of season 2 of Bachelor in Paradise, season 5 of Bachelor in Paradise.
Oh my God.
He's got it all. Audrey's coffee lounge.
Coffee house and lounge, but totally. Audrey's is the most important part.
Okay, Audrey's, and it is Jared. Cheers, how are you?
Hey, cheers. Thank you for bringing a coffee from Audrey's. It was funny, so when I told Ashley that I was doing this, she's like, and I showed her videos, she's like, you need to make sure that he drives safely because you're telling me he's going to interview you while he's driving. I'm like, Ashley, he's done this before. I think he's going to be fine.
This is more safe than when I'm alone in the car.
Yeah, but yeah, you're more focused.
Yeah.
You're like, I can't get into an accident.
No. I'll take good care of you today. And what a treat to be back in Rhode Island with the restaurateur. I want to get into how you got into owning a coffee shop here. I know due to my extensive research, you have a background in managing restaurants.
Yep.
Was that what just made it simple to know, like, I can handle that?
I guess. I mean, have you ever worked in restaurants?
Yes.
So, like, I feel like people who have worked in restaurants probably have always dreamed of, like, maybe I could do this. Like, I'd be able to run my own place. Like, this is what I would do. This is not what I would do, just from learning. Because I started bussing, I don't know, I doubt you know Cello's?
I know Cello's.
All right, so Cello's on Warwick on Post Road. That was my first job ever. I bussed there when I was 16.
There you go.
And so that was my first job. And then when I was in college, I started working at Carrabba's hosting because my sister worked there and I was just looking for a job, a second job, because I was working at Hollywood Video at the time.
I wanted to get into that. I'm totally aware of your Hollywood Video background.
Oh, dude, the best job ever. God, I miss movie stores. I miss it so much.
I was thinking if I ever create my own studio, it's going to be movie store themed. So it's going to be like an interview that takes place in the movie store shelves.
Dude, that needs
like
to happen
Blockbuster style.
Tomorrow.
I want to get the smell down.
You get the smell
dusty,
down.
Kind of, plastic.
Has to be carpeted.
Yeah.
It has to have like some sort of purple carpet.
And some like dingy curtain for the adult section in the back.
Yeah. That looks definitely sketchy and has some stains on it.
But when I saw that you had worked there, I go, oh, that's a slice of Americana that your kids are gonna have to hear about. Like, stores to see movies? What?
I know, and it's so sad, but man, just walking through the aisles of going through comedy and drama, and then the new releases were all on the outside, and then we could rent. I mean, I had a PlayStation 2 at the time, so you could rent video games. God,
okay, rub it in. Yeah, the PlayStation 2.
So with Audrey, I started working there, and then I worked at Carrabba's, and I was hosting. I do love working in restaurants. I do love working customer service. I just feel like I have a little bit of a knack for it. And so when I started working at Carrabba's, I was hosting, and then I started doing curbside pickup, and then serving and bartending, and then part-time managing. And then I was bartending at a couple different places as well and serving. And I do love the service industry. I like the food industry. And so then, of course, I started managing, well, not of course, but I started managing a couple of restaurants in Providence on Atwells Avenue, the Providence Oyster Bar and the Federal Tap House and Kitchen. And then that was also kind of simultaneously the same time that my friend signed me up to be on The Bachelorette. And it just all worked out. And so, obviously once I went on the show, my life kind of changed a little bit, and you can go straight.
Is this the way to the beach?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was wondering, I'm sure he's
going to do a lap by the beach, but I'm not too familiar. It's been a while.
So if you just go straight, just keep going straight. I'll tell you when to turn. So of course, when I went on the show, things started to change. I was still working in restaurants, but, this was also the same time that Instagram started just becoming a thing. And
yeah, I mean, you were on the show during one of the best times to be there. Caitlin Bristol it was obviously a great season. Instagram was at its height. I mean, it was a really good moment there for you.
The luckiest set of circumstances. It really was, man, because like we talk about it a lot. If we were a year prior on Andy's season, you know, or even a couple years later, you know, after the whole Instagram boom, it just wouldn't have been the same. We just got so lucky with the time that we were on the show. And none of us knew what the hell was, you know, no. I remember I didn't have an Instagram before the show.
Right.
And I got back. And so at the time when you go on the show, and this is all very well known, you know, they tell you, this was 7-8 years ago now, you know, you can't be on social media. You have to like deactivate your social media until it's like the day after your last episode airs. So there's no spoilers of like, oh, this person's back on Facebook, they're home. So like, you know, somebody like Reality Steve would be able to get it. And even though he would always get it, obviously.
Yeah.
But so when I got back after filming Caitlin's season, this was before Paradise, obviously I was like, I'm not going on social media, I'm not activating anything. And my friend Crystal was like, you need to be on Instagram before the show starts airing. So you can like, you know, you'll get followers. And because she just knew everything about the show. I really owe everything to this woman, my friend Crystal. She's the one who signed me up for the show. If you take a left here, you can go around. She's the one who signed me up for the show. She was the one who told me that I needed Instagram. She was the one I shit you not, when I got back from our first season of Paradise, she didn't know anything. First day back, she was like, I bet Ashley liked you.
Wow.
And I was like, you have no idea. And so the beach is right ahead, so you can take a right.
Beautiful. Well, I got to say, first of all, restaurants, what a great way to learn how to talk to women. My first job was at Newport Creamery.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
Now all the guys worked in like the fryolator, and they were working in like the kitchen. But I got a job in the scooping ice cream. You can take a left, and so you can go right down. Yeah, I got a job scooping ice cream, which was only the girls did this job, and everyone was making fun of me for getting this job. But then I got to be in the thick of things, you know, moving around, scooping, creams and chocolates all over me. Very interesting. In this, like, I'm 15. I just, you know, it wasn't about the money. It was about just having a chance to like socialize almost.
Yeah.
But yeah. So you obviously were a hit on the show. You got pretty far on Caitlin's season, and then what was the post-show vibes like before Paradise started? Were you dating others in Bachelor Nation, or just kind of?
No, it was.
Did you go back to work?
Yeah, so I went back to work, and honestly, it was such a quick turnaround because for the guys, you know, at least the way it used to be, and I think still is, because they still film it in June. Like, I got back in mid-April, and then I got a phone call for Paradise probably 3 weeks later. They're like, hey, do you want to, like, in a couple weeks, come out to Paradise? And
you were like a shoo-in for it. You know, you had a great run on the show. People liked you. I remember you don't get many Rhode Islanders. You know, it's a small state here, so we were all rooting you on.
Oh, well, thank you. Honestly, it was also, you know, back then, nobody knew what Paradise was. There was only one season. It wasn't even in the location it is now. It was in Tulum, where you got married, the first season of Paradise. And so, like, I remember when they called, I didn't know much about the show, because it isn't what it is now. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. Like, I don't know what Paradise is, because, of course, like, coming off Bachelorette, and you're like, oh, this show is way more salacious. And, like, am I going to look terrible for doing this? Is it just going to be, like, you know, everybody sleeping with each other? Like, I didn't know what the show was.
Sure.
But, so a former executive producer, just a great guy, and he knows that I'm a huge superhero fan, and so he was like, all right, this is what Paradise is, okay?
Is it Elon?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the greatest. I love that man so much.
Yeah, I hear good things.
And he said, Bachelor and Bachelorette is like everybody's solo movie. Paradise is the Avengers, where everybody comes together.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, I'm in, baby. I'm in. That's the coolest thing I've ever heard.
No, I mean, on a parasocial level, which is what makes the show so successful, it is, because you get more options at connections, more, you know, of a chance to have, well, I should say less of a pressure cooker moment, where it's not, you know, all of you vying for Caitlin. It's, all right, let's just see. Maybe I'll work with this person, that person. Now, what's interesting is...
But I actually, sorry to interrupt, I think that's harder.
You think Paradise is harder?
Yeah.
Because of, do you have multi-choice syndrome?
Exactly. At least on Bachelorette, it's like, this is your North Star.
Oh, okay.
That's where you're going after. And then you can just let everything else out. Like, you can just only focus on that. With Paradise, it's like, hey, you have 8, and if you don't choose one, like, they're going to not like you because you're going to be bouncing around and look like an F-boy. And then if you don't, it's just like, it's just like dating, you know what I mean?
Which was my 20s in New York, which was, my Paradise was just cheap bars in New York City, not filmed. So, like, you know, it's got to be very tough to be in that environment, not try to look like a fool. I mean, you basically had everything to lose because you were coming off there's some people that, you know, they're a villain and they can only gain by going on Paradise. But like you said, I mean, there is an element of a risk to it that you know, come off still looking like a good guy.
Yeah, but I think specifically with Paradise, now, hindsight's 2020, I've realized this after the show. It's just like what people want to watch is you just being authentic to you. Like, if you come off fake, they're not going to like you, whether you're trying to be the nice guy or trying to be the villain. Like, like a good example would be my wife, who is a very polarizing figure. Not anymore, but she was. There were so many people who didn't like her, who, you know, thought she was a villain, which is insane.
Insane, right? Just
but
insane.
I think it's like, how do I wish I could better articulate this. Like, I think, like, being a villain on Bachelor, to a certain extent, is also just kind of being real.
Right.
Courtney Robinson is one of the coolest people ever.
Yep.
You know?
Set us up here. Shout out to Courtney.
Yeah, and also, people love her now. I feel like it's one of those instances where you might get villainized on the show, villainized, quote unquote, by this small minority who's very vocal, who has a certain perception of what they think should happen on these shows. And then the people who are watching the show, who can kind of make decisions for themselves, are like, oh, that wasn't that bad. Like, I see where she's coming from.
Yeah,
like, I know why she's crying, or I know why she's freaking out.
Yeah, that's why my channel sort of does well, I think, is that we take everyone's anger at Greg Grippo and we go, okay, let's calm down a minute here. You know what I mean? Like, no one's as bad as people think they are. They're all trying their best.
No,
but
yeah.
I'd say this about Ashley. What I watch a lot of podcasts, obviously, for the content. I go through everyone's stuff. She might be one of my favorite interviewers because she's got the knowledge of an alumni and the empathy and the compassion and all that comes with having done it herself. But then she's got the kind of fangirl thing that all of Bachelor audience have, where she's just excited to interview everybody. I mean, she crushed it when she interviewed Zach Clark recently. And he's a guy who doesn't even talk about The Bachelor much. And she just gets people to, like, let their guard down, which I think is so valuable. And she does a very good job with that.
Thank you. She works hard. She preps for interviews, because I think a lot of people, and as you probably realized, have a certain idea of how hard podcasters or people in our world work, where it's like, oh God, like, get a real job type thing. And Ashley really works hard. You know, she preps for interviews, she does her research, she wants to ask specific questions because she cares about the people listening. And it's interesting because I'm so glad you said that, because she really cares about asking questions that she thinks the audience would want to hear, because she's an audience member.
Right.
You know, I think
I forget she's on a show sometime. I forget because she really does come off like enthused and not like she's punching the time clock like, you know, some people do.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I love about Ashley more than anything, is that she is just so her. Like, the person that you think Ashley is exactly who the person Ashley actually is.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I love about her so much, is that she is just unapologetically a fangirl. And so you can see that in these interviews, because you know, even anytime we meet anybody who's a fan of The Bachelor, and, you know, they're just like, she's one, it sounds so stupid to say this, but we're all just like one of them. Like, anytime I meet someone who's like, oh, you know, I see you're a big Tom Brady fan. And then I just like go off for 10 minutes about my fandom for Tom Brady. And then she'll meet someone. She's like, oh, I also love the Jonas Brothers. And they'll talk about Jonas Brothers for 15 minutes and they'll just be fangirling. And I don't know.
Well,
it's
I tell
fun to
people
watch.
like when to do anything in content creation, you really have to love the subject matter because the audience can sniff out the bullshit.
Mhm.
So yeah, you and I, we could talk Tom Brady. One of my questions was, what does he smell like? Because I feel like it's fantastic.
Just
that was a
God.
big win for all New England fans when we saw that you guys got to meet him twice, I believe, right?
Dude, it was insane. So we got to go to the 80 for Brady for premiere. So we have a connection with Paramount. It was actually so cool. So I'm a huge film buff, as you are as well, as I could tell.
I auditioned for that movie.
Dude, 80 for Brady?
Oh yeah.
Did you audition for one of the radio hosts?
No, I auditioned to be one of the guys working one of the events that they're like playing to win a jersey or something.
Oh yeah, at one of the events at the NFL, whatever it's called.
Right.
The NFL Experience.
I wasn't Boston enough for them.
Oh, you should have just hammered.
By the way,
it
I'm going to drive by my old house.
Oh, yeah,
while
dude,
we're doing this because I lived here in college.
Dude, that's awesome.
So this is eastward look.
Did you say you went to URI?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
Every single house in these communities is college kids. It's so debaucherous.
Oh man.
But yeah, so you got to. I mean, did he know who you guys were? I mean,
No.
He did the whole Bachelor bit with you though.
So what happened was, which was so fantastic. So the first time we met him was the 80 for Brady premiere. And so we went to the premiere. We had Dawson with us, which was so cool. Paramount let us bring Dawson so he could walk the carpet. And it was his first birthday. It was actually his first birthday. And so we were, you get dropped off of the carpet, you walk the carpet, and then there's food and drink area. It's really nice. And our connection at Paramount was like, hey, listen, if you want to try to get close to Tom, I would say go back to the drop-off area. Done, obviously. So we immediately scurry back up there. And it's just a mob of people. So we're kind of like getting into our position, and then a black car pulls up, and then the security guard's like, left or right, middle has to be open, middle has to be open. It's like, oh my God, this is definitely Tom.
I would be losing it.
Dude, so we back up, and so to next to me, I noticed that it's a lot of people from Brady Brand. So I'm assuming that it's like higher up executives at Brady Brand, because they're all wearing Brady Brand material.
Right.
And so am I as well. So I'm like, okay, that's perfect. And then to my left is Jim Gray, who he does the podcast with.
Right.
Jim Gray is the sports interviewer. And so I was like, all right, this feels like a good spot. And then so Tom gets out, and the PR person, goes up, and she's like, Tom, this is so-and-so from Brady Brand. He's like shaking the hands. He's right next to me. I'm like, holy shit. And so Ashley's like, get out there, like trying to like position me. And then she looks at us. She obviously has no idea who we are or why we're standing there. And then she sees Jim Gray next to us, and she goes, Tom, Jim Gray's waiting for you right over here, but there's so much going on and cameras. So he's kind of like nodding. He looks at us, and he's like, hey, how's it going? So I immediately stick my hand out. I say, hey, I'm Jared. So nice to meet you. And then I just like talked to him for about a good 10 seconds. I've been like, dude, I'm just a big
Best
fan.
10
Like,
seconds.
you're the man. I love you so much.
Which is all stuff that he gets. Like I'm sure he is a constant professional where he knows how to like probably de-escalate the nerves with his fans.
Exactly. And he was like, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then I think he was waiting for me to explain why I was meeting him. He's like, oh, I worked on the movie. I work at Brady Brand. And it was none of that. It was just me saying, hey, I love you so much. And Ashley was great. She was like, you make my husband very happy. And then he was like, who's this little guy? And we said, oh, his name is Dawson. His middle name is Brady. We named him after you. And he's like, oh, that's so cool. And then we were like, can we take a quick pic? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. So we take a picture, and I was on cloud nine. So it was the greatest moment ever. So fast forward a month later, he works with a company called Autograph, or he owns a company called Autograph that we've done some social promotion for. And they were having this event down in Tampa. They were like, we'd love for you guys to come. And we're like, we'll be there. Because they were like, we think, Tom's going to be there. So the day before we left, they told us, hey, listen, you're going to get 60 seconds with Tom. And we're like, oh my God. Because leading up to both these events, we were like, there's potential that we could meet him, but there's no guarantees, obviously. So we have to go to both to increase our chances. And so, of course, we went to 80 for Brady, and then we went to the Autograph event. So at the Autograph event, there's the meet and greet line. We're in line. We're at the front of the line. And then the PR person, different woman, we were trying to think of what we should do because we already met him. So we were like, oh, maybe we should do like a gimmicky video. And then I was like, well, everybody jokes that if it was a rose ceremony, of course I'd give my rose to Tom over you, Ashley. And I was like, wouldn't it be funny if we actually did that? And so we came up with this bit, and then we asked the PR person if it was okay. And she goes, well, let me ask him first because, just to make sure he's cool with it. Yeah. So it's not awkward where you walk up and ask him and he can't say no. The PR person has to say no. So she goes up to him. And then we found out this conversation later, so I didn't know in the moment. But she goes, "Hey, Tom, this is Jared and Ashley they're from the Bachelor franchise. They were wondering if they could do this video with you where he hands you a rose when you're standing next to his wife." And he goes, yeah. He's like, I've met them before. I was like, oh my God.
I know.
And
that's great.
So I didn't know that until later because she texted me. She's like, by the way, I forgot to tell you, when I went up and asked him, he recognized you guys. I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. So, because when I went up and I said, hey, Tom, it's very good to see you. We met very briefly at the 80. And as I was saying 80 for Brady, he said it as well. So I was like, does he remember? And he was just so gracious. And it was so cool because Ashley afterwards was like, I can't believe how collected you were in that moment because, you know, you had to direct Tom Brady. Because I was like, Tom, just stand here. Ashley, go stand next to him. And I said, Tom, I'm just going to do this little spiel and then I'm going to hand you the rose. And then that's really the whole video. And so I'm telling Ashley, I'm like, Ashley, as soon as I hand him the rose, just like start crying, obviously, do your thing. And then, and then Tom was, and then he looks at me and he goes, what am I supposed to do? I said, bro, just look happy when I give you the rose. and then that was the video and it was so cool and he was so great. And then we left and I was like, dude, you're like, I can't thank you enough. And like, you just, everything you are and who you are as a person, just thank you. And he was like, thank you so much for saying that. And
yeah, you know,
he gets a cool moment.
That's so cool. He gets some hate from, you know, people he played against, but now that he's retired, I think people obviously appreciate. He's got not one, not two, but three sections of his career that are each Hall of Fame worthy.
Yeah,
he's so. I mean, we could just do a full.
Should we turn this into a Tom Brady car ride?
I told my wife though when we were dating, when we watched one Come From Behind, the Malcolm Butler, the others, all the different ones, every single one. I'm like, you are just witnessing history.
I mean, just that's why I didn't want the Patriots to let him go. I was like, it's just why are we
dark day.
Yeah, it's like, why are we just letting go of fun and enjoyment earlier than we have to?
Give him whatever he needs.
Yeah,
they outmanage themselves on that one. Now, I wanted to. So we talked briefly about podcasting and how Ashley's such a professional, and you guys both obviously you've had blue collar jobs working in restaurants, and now as a restaurant owner. How that plays into the. And by the way, the coffee lounge is so nice.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm very critical because it's kind of fun to look at all of the Bachelor alumni and what they do. And some really don't, I think, appreciate the audience that's bestowed to them. Mm-hmm. You know, the quicker something is given, the quicker it's taken away.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what to do with their audience after they're on the show. So to watch you guys decide to do like a brick and mortar, which isn't something that you see a lot of influencers and people that come from the show do. What's your business like between the coffee shop and then the influencer world? Because you guys collectively have like almost 2 million or more than 2 million followers.
Yeah.
It's how do you balance the attention between the two?
Ashley would say that I don't balance it well because I have always just been a very, I don't know, I feel like I'm more of sounds stupid, like salt of the earth type guy. I don't know. Like, I remember when we first started really getting to, the entertainment world and influencing and all this jazz and really dedicating, a lot of our focus to it. A lot of it is networking, emails, content creating. And for me, I've always come from a background of physical labor. And so like this different type of labor, I did not enjoy, which is so ironic because it really feels like it should be, like, oh, I've made it. You know what I mean? Like, this is it.
The physical labor gives you the result of what you do. Like, oh, I built that wall today, or I painted that thing today.
Or even just like it's like, cooking, cleaning, serving, like, just like all that stuff that I've been so accustomed to doing for my entire life. That fulfills me.
Right.
Which is insane because I don't make nearly as much money doing it.
Right.
It's like, so that's where it came in because as a restaurant, it's very notoriously known that restaurants are not like immediate money makers, if money makers at all.
Right.
And so, everybody says like, well, most restaurants fail within the first year. And then furthermore, you shouldn't really expect to make your money back until 3 or 4 years in. It's like, well, why are these, your return on investment seems terrible on restaurants. And yet here I am owning a restaurant, which obviously I was very aware of, but it was more so, as you kind of maybe witnessed a little bit this morning, what I love so much about restaurants and food industry, and I guess just like the service industry, whether it be retail or so on, like there is this camaraderie, like this feeling of community that I've always enjoyed, and I'm sure you as well, being a Rhode Islander.
You were the Tom Brady of the restaurant today. People were coming up to you left or right. You were the mayor of the street. You know what I mean? Is that every day?
Every day.
Every day? So that must be incredibly rewarding.
It is very rewarding. It's also very exhausting because I also work there. So a lot of times when I'm busy, and it's so sweet. And anybody who takes the time to come into Audrey's, like I want to make sure that I give them time because they're literally giving me business,
Right.
Which is they're taking time out of their day to come like get coffee from me instead of the convenience of another place, which I still support Dunkin'. Like everybody asks that, like, oh, like of course I still love Dunkin'.
This is a fantastic pumpkin, I think pumpkin pie syrup. Or there's something
pumpkin?
Pumpkin in here.
We got a lot of different ones. So
very good.
We have a pumpkin spice brew actually, so I wonder if that
could be it.
Which is great because it actually is brewed with the flavors. So anyway,
but yeah, there's this one restaurant that I've been going to in Santa Monica, and the chef comes out and talks to us, and we were bullshitting with him about the pancakes he makes and how good they were, and we have to go to that restaurant all the time now because we've built this relationship with the people that are there, and that's you're a quick conversation with someone might make them a repeat customer if they were just checking you out for the first time. So it's great for the business to be social with all of the.
And I tell my staff the exact same thing because like just what makes me proud about Audrey's is that I am Audrey's, as weird as that sounds, but so is my staff. Like I'm very lucky to have incredible workers that I trust immensely, that have worked with me for a while, even a short term. But I think what makes a difference is that because they care about Audrey's a lot as well because they see me,
right.
And it's not like I'm just working there for a paycheck. Like
it's not corporate owned.
Yeah, I am Audrey's. So they're like, oh shit, like I want to make sure that this business succeeds because I see, Jared washing dishes and mopping and cleaning bathrooms and like doing whatever I need to do. So it is very humbling anytime someone comes in and they're like, wow, I didn't expect to see you working here.
I was gonna say, are they always surprised that you're actually there?
Yeah. Which is also very nice. I actually saw someone yesterday. So I was in the kitchen and the front of house was a little busy. So I made whatever the meal was and brought it out to the table. And as I brought it out to the table, I noticed their phone was on the table as I was putting the dish down. And it was a picture of me walking out of the kitchen. So they must have just like took a picture of me, put their phone down. Because I was like, oh, that's Audrey's. And how everything happens in super speed in your mind. And I was like, oh, that's Audrey's. That's me. That's me from today. I think that's me literally 3 seconds ago walking out of the kitchen. So
I get that at stand-up shows where people like want to sneak a photo, and I'm like, come on, come up, let's go.
Yeah, please. Like, it's very nice to me.
It's the business. Yeah.
It's the business, and also like never in a million years did I ever think that anybody would ever want to take a photo with me.
By the way, what's the best way to get back, this way or turning around?
You can go this way because I'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah,
it just like gives us like an extra 10 or 15 minutes, so that would work out well.
But yeah, it's the business, and like most people, like you're not, so big that you have to push people away. It's like they're there. So part of the transaction might be to say hi, and everyone can, coffee's kind of coffee. It's really about the canvas that you have it on.
Oh yeah, and also.
What kind of risk was that? Because how much, like, was there a big, what kind of money did you have to put into making it yours versus, I think it was Brewed Awakenings beforehand, right?
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
And obviously so I remember, I'll never forget, once we finally did it, we put a budget to the side, said, all right, this is what we're going to invest in it. And of course, like the budget went over a little bit, but that's okay. But I remember standing in the space and it was empty. And I got lucky that it was a coffee shop. So there was still, like the fireplace was there, countertops were there. Right. There was certain like, okay, this is where they put their oven. So I can kind of have an idea of like the kitchen layout, the front of house layout. But I remember standing there and being like, how, can I swear?
Sure.
I was like, how the fuck do I get coffee cups in here? Like enough to sustain, I know these companies, but it's just like, how do I even start that relationship? How do I get food in here on a consistent basis to supply to the level of customers I'm hoping to get? So it was like a mini panic attack there for a minute, even though like I knew what I was doing, but you never know until you actually do it.
You have to sell this vision to Ashley, or was she already wanting to do something like this with you?
She knew that I always wanted to do something like this, so she was wary and still is, and I completely understand, because anybody who's watching this who has someone who owns specifically a restaurant or any business in general, like, I mean, it's your kid. Like, that is, you know, and so it takes up a lot of my time and energy, and there's not much income coming back in as of right now. It's more of building a sustained business to have it succeed for a very long time, and that's my goal. But it's tough because, you know, I'm gone, you know, depending on the week, but like consistently, you know, probably 60 hours a week at least, sometimes more, maybe sometimes a little less. And that's time that I could be devoting to different things, specifically, you know, family with Dawson and Ashley, and she's in Rhode Island, you know, by herself, for lack of a better way of saying it, because she moved here for me, so it's not like her family's here or any of her close friends. And then furthermore, we talked about Instagram and the whole social media aspect of things, like the more time that I invest in Audrey's is the less time that I invest in social media, which, to be completely candid, is probably not coming to a shock. I make more money doing that than I do at the restaurant.
Right.
So, you know, it's
like, that's your short term, like not necessarily short term, but there's money there, but it's good to have eggs in different baskets.
Yes, good to have, but also scary because, like, I think both Ashley and I, like you said, short term, it won't last forever. This Instagram world, you know, everything that we have the opportunities to do now, we will not always have the opportunities. I mean, hopefully we do, but I highly doubt it. And so that's the scary part, is that it's trying to balance it. Be like, okay, we need to make sure that we take advantage of the opportunities that are at hand right now to hopefully continue doing this, or to open new doors, and to, you know, sustain a financial cushion enough for like the three of us in a growing family. But then also trying to grow this business to, it gets to a point where it can help be a little bit more sustaining on its own, where I don't have to be there as much, and still being able to make enough money where I could justify owning a business, and then furthermore maybe even open another business at some point. So
right,
it's a lot to handle. Ashley's great about it. Like, obviously we have a lot of adult conversations about our business and what we're looking for in the future, and family, and, you know, where we're living. And
I wanted to ask you about that, and we'll kind of work our way backwards to how you started dating. But she's Virginia, correct?
Yep.
And you're Rhode Island. My wife's Kentucky. I'm Rhode Island. So there is this conversation about where are we going to set up roots. How did you guys come to the conclusion to come back to Rhode Island versus Virginia or Los Angeles, like a lot of alumni make it out to there?
Yeah. So we lived in LA. She was living in LA when we first started dating. And I was out there. I was living with Nick, actually, because...
Which Nick?
Nick Vial.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Nick, because Nick was the Bachelor.
Right.
Him and Vanessa broke up. He had a 2-bedroom in LA. And I'm pretty sure he was just like looking for a roommate, even though he let me live there for free, which is so sweet. Because I never lived outside Rhode Island, and I always was interested in living in LA just to see, or like living someplace else.
Left
yeah,
here?
You could take a left here. But
that's so great to have someone to move into, because LA can be super lonely.
Oh, 100%.
You don't like have someone there welcoming you.
So he's like, dude, this was in late 2017. He's like, just move out to LA, live with me. I'll let you live here rent free, and just try it out, see if you like it. And I was like, well, that's very sweet of you. And so I ended up doing that. This was in November of 2017, late anyway. And so moved out there. Ashley was going to go on winter games. And this is setting up the time frame. So then I was living with Nick. I did not like LA. Like I always knew. I was like, all right. When I went home for Christmas break, I was like, I don't ever want to go back. But I will go back for a little while. Give it more of a
LA
shot.
is a tough... There's other cities that can get you there. I went roadie to Boston, to New York, to LA. Mm-hmm. But LA is a unique and very far place to be for your family.
It's just not my jive.
Yeah.
And so, but then Ashley was on winter games. And then at the time when she was filming, like I heard we've told this story a million times, but long story short, when I was like, all right, fuck that, Ashley. You can't date this other guy. You have to date me because I'm in love with you, and we just need to move forward. Luckily, she was receptive to that. And so, long story short, we started dating in March, I believe it was.
And this was after you had already broken up on season 2 of Bachelor in Paradise. This is what?
Oh yeah,
this was after later.
This was after season 2, seasons 3. This was like a long time afterwards when she started doing Winter Games. So this was 2018 pretty much, and then our second season of Paradise was 2016. So that was 2 years prior.
So I want to get to that feeling of knowing it was her, because I almost feel like my wife and you are the same. Like we had like flipped the gender roles here. Where my wife wanted to be friends with me, and I was like, I'm done. No, this isn't going to work for me. I need more. And then she was like, okay, I don't want to lose you. And then I think she was afraid of losing me as a friend, but I've heard you say the same thing about Ashley. You guys were friends before you dated.
Yeah. Oh my God. We were really close friends. It was probably a toxic friendship. So really looking back on it, because there was always that tension or that awkwardness of, are we ever going to be more? Are we not going to be more?
And she was like full blown in love with you.
Yeah, and so, like, let's be honest, so was I. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just a different type.
She went on, which I watched last night, she went on Millionaire Matchmaker and was crying to Patty, I think her name's Patty, on Millionaire Matchmaker, and Patty's like, you got to get rid of this douche. And I go, that's the guy. But then in hindsight,
I'm the douche.
He's the douche. Well, yeah. But but of course, it's very rare your circumstance working out the way it did, but you were in you guys came from a very unique situation in the first place, where you talked about paradise and all these other shiny objects there that sometimes you don't even realize who the one is. Mm-hmm. So I feel like a lot of Bachelor Nation audience might misinterpret your situation because they watch it play out as in you don't choose her, and our audience is mainly women, so I'm sure there's a lot of people that didn't like that. But so at what point do you go, all right, this is it. I know this is it. Was there a moment, or was it that the fact that you felt like you were going to lose her?
It was never just one moment. It was more so, I think, coming to terms with the idea that I needed to just, I don't want to say grow up. I've always been, you could take a left,
yeah. Yeah, okay, I know where I am now.
I've never felt like I've been immature by any stretch, but I think it was more of just an acceptance of, like, I think what I've always done in my life, and I'm sure a lot of people have done this, quote unquote, like, you fake it till you make it. You know what I mean? I put this, like, it's me. I've always been myself, but, like, I always put this perception of myself that, like, I'm calm, cool, collected. Like, I understand things. I have, like, I'm strong in my convictions,
so
or, like, I have my shit together.
You're front of the house energy.
Exactly.
You're like, I got it all together. Back of the house.
Exactly. Like, and then I go in the back of the house, and it's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Like, I'm just making things up as I go and just praying. Like, I think my entire life, kind of like the restaurant industry, is like, I've just been trying to keep my head above water. Like, I've never been able to just, like, fully get myself out of the water and been like, oh, I have a cushion. I'm good. Like, I know what I'm doing. I feel great about where I'm going.
Yeah, when you're in the deep end, you're trying to stay afloat. You need to get to the shallows. You need financial security. I totally relate to
And I've never had that. Like, I never had financial security. I've always been, like, working in restaurants and just not paycheck to paycheck, but, like, never a lot of money in savings.
I totally understand.
Or like own my, like, I remember going on Bachelorette and they were like, oh yeah, I own a house, or like, oh, I have this amount of money saved in the bank in case for a rainy day. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like, I don't have any of this. And, like, my entire life was like that because I was from Rhode Island, and, like, it was just like I was always envisioning myself kind of like, just like living here and dying here.
How can I have a long-term relationship? I was the same way. I was like, I can't take women on dates. I can just go to the bars and see who's available.
And not because of, like, because I think I'm worse than them, you know what I mean? It's not because I think that I'm better than any woman. Of
course.
It's more so I think I'm worse, and specifically with Ashley, like, I always felt I was worse than Ashley. Like, Ashley could do, not that, I feel like I bring a lot to the table, but, like, what I didn't bring to the table is this sense of, like we talked about, financial security, she was like, Ashley kind of like dated a football player at one time, like dated, but like still, it's like, I'm not that guy. I'm never going to be that guy. Like, I'm going to be the guy who's probably like bartending and then becomes a salesman. And then that's my life. And that's totally cool. And I'm happy with that. But like, I know you're not going to be happy with that. So it was always like this fear of just like I loved the idea of us being friends because I loved her so much, but like never crossing that threshold because it's like, Ashley, you're just like, if you live with me, we're going to live in like a small house in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
I know that's not what you want. And I can't give you more than that. And then, of course, it came to the point where it was like, all right, I'm being a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I need to, if I want to be with Ashley, like, I need to tell her how I feel and then let her make her own decision. And that, luckily, when it came down to the moment of, like, do or die, where I finally acted on my feelings and being honest with Ashley, exactly where my mind was and where my heart was, she was still open to the idea. And then she's always pushed me and she's made me a better person. And she's like, you are capable of doing these things. If, we'll work together and we'll work hard and we will be successful. And she was 100% right.
That's fantastic. And, so many, you probably didn't realize your own work ethic. Obviously, it sounds like you have a really strong work ethic. This is one of the reasons why I want to move out of Los Angeles, because I don't want to I want to move back somewhere where the kids got to shovel the snow,
Dude.
Mow the lawn, do the things that I did that make you feel like you can work really hard. And obviously when you work in restaurants and, we come from very similar upbringings, which was why I was so excited to talk to you. You get to, and now you have a kid, I get to show them, what it was like when I grew up and try to offer some life values, which sounds crazy because I'm sure you probably still feel like, I can't believe I'm a dad. Like, that's just a wild.
It will never feel like that. I also think it won't feel like that until I actually start teaching life lessons to him, maybe. Because right now it's just, wiping his ass, like throwing a ball and being excited about it, and it's awesome. But I don't feel like a dad. I just feel like I'm hanging out with a kid. I wonder if fatherhood will hit me in a different way once I'm trying to teach him, how to be a man, a person, a human being, right and wrong. It's hard. Life is incredible. Well, life really is incredible when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like, we're breathing.
It's like,
that's the craziest shit ever.
Having a kid's a miracle, and yet a bunch of people do it that shouldn't. But,
I know. But it's also the toughest thing.
Oh my! I can't imagine.
It's the best thing ever, and it's the worst thing ever.
Ashley mentioned gender disappointment, which got a lot of love. Actually, a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a real thing." Did you feel that at all when you found out it was going to be a boy, or was it just that Ashley had her mindset or thought it was going to be a girl?
I can't believe how much of a story that became, because Ashley felt so insecure because she didn't think it was going to be anything.
Well, a TikToker tried to shame her, to be like, this is so stupid. And then the whole comment section was like, no, this is a real thing. This is so common. It doesn't mean you don't like the baby. It's just...
No, but when she found out Dawson was first of all, it's so crazy because, like, we didn't know who Dawson was. It was a thing in her belly. That's the craziest part, is thinking, like, looking at Dawson, especially for Ashley, obviously, because she grew Dawson inside of her, right, which is the craziest shit ever. But like, looking at Dawson would be like, wow, that was you. Like, all those sonograms, all those pictures, like that little thing inside her, that was you, bro. That's the craziest thing ever.
That's amazing.
And of course, like, now we have a completely different perspective on pregnancy and just like having a kid, because it's like, to see what he's become now, you're like, wow, that's the craziest shit ever. Anytime, which happens a lot, anytime like I feel like I'm overwhelmed or stressed or being like, this was a mistake, or just get concerned with things, I always think about, a bunch of things, but specifically, one of Ben Higgins' buddies from home, he's battling ALS.
Right.
And like, so I follow him on Instagram and I follow his story and his wife, and it's just fucking tragic to see his deterioration, from where it started a few years ago to where he is now, where it's like he can't chew that much. And dude, I remember, like, skier, like, I met him a couple times, super nice guy, literally just like us.
Right.
And it's like, you're kind of watching someone die in front of your eyes. And I always think about that. And I'm like, what the fuck am I so concerned about? Like, Audrey's, yes, is stressful, and Dawson's stressful, and we don't know where we're going to be. But like, Dude, one day we're gonna die.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm gonna look back and say, why was I so stressed out about these things that I could go outside and throw a ball, or I could go outside and I can go get coffee right now.
Right.
Like, how awesome is that I'm able to drink coffee?
Yeah.
You know, something that will not happen one day.
Right.
So, like, I always think about that.
No, I think
to
that's
like center myself.
Great way to think about it, and it sounds like you guys have such a great, relatable aspect to have being on the show and met in such a unique way that, you know, I think it's hard for a lot of audience to relate to Bachelor alumni because they seem so out there with their influencing and their lifestyles. Like, it's just so. But you guys really, I think, do a good job of feeling like you're both alumni but also fans. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Did I leave anything on the table here? I think I covered...
The one thing, we were going to finish up a conversation about something. Oh, the gender... what was it?
Gender disappointment or whatever.
Gender disappointment. So, Ashley, it was... She just wanted a girl. That was... Yeah. But I've met so many people who are like, oh, I hope it's this or I hope it's that. It was so interesting that when she talked about this, that it got a little bit of news, I guess. Because I guess I was just like, doesn't everybody like have a particular?
I think it's horrible when you see the gender reveal parties and it's pink and then the guy runs off mad. It's like, okay, calm down,
relax, buddy. Yeah,
like the baby you should want is the healthiest baby. Like, that's
of course.
But of course, yeah, you plan in your head like, this is gonna be it. We're gonna go to Dance First Idols. Now, I know too much about you people, alumni, from covering the show, and I just read an article that says you guys are going to be like soft trying for. So you're trying to make the family keep going. Or are you happy with the because one child is like, that's a nice little thing. Too, my wife the other day was like, well, let's try to have 3, and I'm like, well, now we're talking Uber XL. Like,
oh yeah, and especially once you get outnumbered.
Oh, because
outnumbered. What concerns me too with having a second kid is that, you know, with everything we do, we're always just so constantly busy that now we're going to incorporate another kid to the point where it's like, okay, Ashley, you get Dawson and I get this baby, or flip-flop. So it's no longer like we can both be with Dawson and whenever, like last night we're hanging out in his playroom and it's so great because it's just 3 of us and like he's playing and we're able to like go back and forth and it's like, all right, well, I'm going to use the bathroom, or like I'm going to take a shower, and then I come back and she's like, all right, well, I'm going to go take a shower, and it's just like nice. That shit is over with a second kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Saying you're outnumbered. My sister's got 4 kids. She had 3 boys, and I think she was just trying for the 4th, and she finally got a girl.
So she had gender disappointment as well.
It's a goddamn war zone with her.
Dude.
She is like, and she's kind of just like, I think, just like, let's just burn it off, wait till they age. Like, the next 10 years are fucking over.
Oh, like, that's what I mean. It's just like, dude, I see so many people, especially owning Audrey's, and I've always been in restaurants, so I've been able to encounter a lot of different people. But like the poor, like, first of all, having a child is fantastic and it's a gift and wonderful. And I'm not saying anything else, but like you see moms come in with like 2 or 3 kids and these moms are just like I see it in their face.
Yeah.
And they're like, hi, how are you? And I'm like, is this every day?
And then with that comes stress, your cortisol levels, all the different things.
Yeah, you need like the greatest vacation ever.
Yeah.
Like you need to just do something for yourself. And she's like, no, I do. Like sometimes I go for a walk. I'm like, no. Like these poor, you know what I mean? Because their entire life is like, put that down. No, go, don't do this. No, come here. No, eat that.
You know what's so sexy is mom arms. Moms get these arms that are just like carrying babies around, like kettlebells left and right.
That's what Ashley's arms are like, actually kind of jacked right now.
I'm not surprised.
I'm like, damn, girl, you go.
Yeah. Well, look, it sounds like you guys have just quite a great thing going for you. So, dude, thanks so much for chatting with me.
My
today.
pleasure, man.
It was so nice that you could squeeze this in on my Rhode Island trip. But yeah, I don't think, what can we promote? If anyone in the South County area, you've got trivia, Bachelor trivia, and other Bachelor-themed events here.
Well, it's not even it's trivia.
Just trivia, okay.
So I host trivia every Friday. I've come up with probably like at least 10,000 questions over the past year. And it's a really nice, it's fun, and I love doing it. So we do trivia Friday nights. We're going to do like some Bachelor watch parties once the Golden Bachelor starts airing.
Oh, I'm coming when I'm in town.
Yeah,
I'll be
and then Bachelor in Paradise. So that's fun. And then, just come to Audrey's Coffee House and Lounge. stop in, get a coffee, get a drink. It's fun. It's cool.
Awesome.
So, and thank you for everybody who's ever come to Audrey's. There are people who come from all around the country, and it means the world to Ashley and I. Because again, it's just, I know it probably doesn't, it doesn't mean much to you because you're like, oh, I'll just go.
Right.
But I've always looked at it as they're choosing to come to us, which is...
it's a destination. They're absolutely choosing it.
I always feel like it's disappointing though. Because it's nice in there, but it's also just like a coffee shop.
It's a nice, no, that's exactly the vibe though. It's great. Well, hopefully you tell Ashley I drove safe. I think
I will.
We didn't violate any road rules here. I have popped a curb or two in the past, but yeah, we were good. Thanks again, man.
Of course, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, bud.
I will turn these off and maybe run inside and use the bathroom.
Yeah, of course. Come on in, man.